So Nikki Haley is gaining popularity with NPCs all across the country. Mike Pence drops out of the presidential race as if he was ever in it. And Ron DeSantis gets a letter from the Republican state legislator saying, hey, you're done. Drop out. Come back home. Leave it alone. Let Trump do his thing. And we need you here, Governor DeSantis. It's hilarious. I'm loving it right now. You know, Israel is really bombarding the hell out of Gaza right now. And it's getting some, I guess, fair backlash for it. I mean, they're going above and beyond, which some people are cheering for. I really can't, as much as I would like to say, yeah, Hamas deserves it. I'll go out and say that Hamas deserves every single bit of what they get. The thing is, the innocent women, children, and even men that don't agree with Hamas, that don't want nothing to do with none of this, are right smack dab in the middle of it, and there's nothing we can do about it. Biden is trying to send $100 million in aid over there. We all know that Hamas is going to get their hands on at least some of it, if not all of it. And so it's a complete mess right now. The world is crashing down. We've got the United States striking targets in Syria, which is going to piss off Iran. So here we go. Are y'all ready for that? I mean, hope y'all are prepared. I'm not. I need to get prepared. I need to prepare myself good. But we got a long story to get into. What's up, everybody? This is Legitical Response. If you're looking for some political news and you want an opinion on it, here's your place to be. What's up, y'all? Don't forget to hit that like button. If you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, so every time I pop out a video, which is every single day, or at least I try, every single day, you'll know about it, and it'll come up in your feed. Now, I hope y'all having a good day. We having all right today. As you can see, I got a jacket on. So down here in Louisiana, it's like 50 degrees was the high temperature for today. It's supposed to get down into the 30s, which is nuts for October. Like I say, we got a long one to get into, and this one's kind of interesting, so let's go ahead and jump right in. McConnell, Speaker Johnson headed for a shutdown clash over Ukraine. Here we go, baby. It's starting to get lit. They're going to feel the wrath, man. Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell and newly elected Speaker Mike Johnson are headed for a shutdown over emergency funding for Ukraine and funding the government beyond Thanksgiving. Two tough issues that will test their ability to work together. Oh, yes, and I'm loving it. And I hope Johnson puts the fucking screws to Mitch McConnell, because I can't stand Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell is like the poster child for the establishment, Democrat, Republican. He's essentially, he's a uniparty. That is where your uniparty really comes from, the Senate. The Senate is notorious for not really giving a damn about their constituents. I don't even know why we have the Senate. We need to get rid of the Senate. No surprise here. McConnell says he wants to keep military aid to Ukraine and Israel tied together because he views those conflicts as part of a larger global threat. He has repeatedly warned that picking a fight with Democrats that could result in a government shutdown is bad politics for the GOP. In other words, he wants Johnson to just lay down and let Senate Democrats just walk all over the House. No, I'm sorry. That kind of politics has come to an end, or it needs to come to an end if it hasn't already come to an end. This uniparty needs to go. Johnson says he wants to bifurcate the issues of Ukraine and Israel, and he has signaled early support for a stopgap funding bill that would include steep cuts to non-defense spending, which Democrats say would have no chance of passing the Senate. Who gives a damn? They're gonna have to pass it. I'm sorry. Beyond the next 3 weeks, McConnell wants to pass the regular appropriations bills before Christmas in order to boost defense spending, while Johnson has floated the idea of freezing federal funding with a stopgap measure lasting until January or April. That's what we talked about yesterday. Johnson has also proposed offsetting $14 billion in aid to Israel with other spending cuts, an idea that will be controversial with Senate Republicans and Democrats alike. And like I said, who cares? These people need to fall in line. They need to realize that they are not the power. The people have the power. And the people have elected House Republicans to be in charge, and House Republicans have elected Mike Johnson, and they need to work with Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson does not need to work with them. I'm all on top of this. I'm excited for it, as you can see. I really hope Johnson sticks to his guns. Adding to the challenge, few Republican senators have heard of Johnson before his sudden election as Speaker on Wednesday, and McConnell still hasn't even met him in person, though they spoke on the phone the day of Johnson's election. McConnell highlighted the challenge ahead, telling his Senate colleagues, "We have a lot of work to do ahead of us," and urging House and Senate Republicans to work together on a number of urgent priorities. And you can see between the red lines right there that he's talking about Ukraine funding. That's not a priority. I'm sorry. Ukraine might need help with what they're doing over there because they've got a lot on their plate. But that's not our priority. I'm sorry. Republican conservatives who want to shake up the GOP establishment in Washington and who are rooting for Rep. Jim Jordan to win the Speaker's gavel are pleased by Johnson's rise to power, as am I. We need to start breaking the mold around here. That's right. This isn't working. We're $33.5 trillion in debt. The old way of doing business has failed, is failing. We need to approach things differently. From my standpoint, within the Republican conference, we need a different form of governance, said Senator Ron Johnson. Hey, I'm starting to like this Ron Johnson. Senator Johnson voted against re-electing McConnell to another term as leader in November. Yeah, McConnell needs to go. He is too old. He's freezing up on camera. And these old establishment Republicans and Democrats need to go bye-bye. Our legislative branch does not need to be full of geriatrics. I'm sorry to anybody out there who's geriatric. I apologize, but you guys do not need to be running the country. I'm sorry. You're not with it anymore. These people are getting old, just like Biden. McConnell and Speaker Johnson have strikingly different relationships to former President Trump and were on opposite sides of the debate on January 6, 2021, when Johnson laid out the lawyerly arguments that many House Republicans used to justify their votes against certifying President Biden's election. Yeah, that's controversial, and I'm not going to get into that right now. McConnell hasn't spoken to Trump since mid-December 2020 and hasn't mentioned the former president's name publicly in several years. He recently pushed back on Trump's criticism of Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. By contrast, Rep. Matt Gaetz, who led the push to oust Rep. Kevin McCarthy from the speakership, praised the new speaker as MAGA Mike Johnson and proclaimed his election to show ascendance for this movement, and I would have to agree with that. McConnell and Johnson also have strikingly different views of the role of federal government in steering the national abortion debate. McConnell has made it clear on several occasions that restrictions on abortions should be left to the states, arguing that Congress is hopelessly divided and no federal abortion law could muster 60 votes to pass the Senate. I agree with that. I think most of these issues should be a state's issue. You want to be able to have the ability to murder babies? Then, well, whatever. I don't care. Do it in your state. I don't want to have no part of it. Johnson sees abortion very much as a national issue, and earlier this year co-sponsored a bill declaring the right to life guaranteed by the Constitution is vested in each human being at all stages of life, including the moment of fertilization, which I do totally agree with that. But once again, it's a state's issue. We need to decentralize power. He also introduced a bill in February to make it a crime to transport minors across state lines to get an abortion without first satisfying parental involvement laws in the minor's state of residence. That is a very good idea, because you don't want to have these traveling abortion clinics. You know what I mean by that. People just traveling out of state to get an abortion. Why would you want to get an abortion anyway? I don't understand people, why they would want to hurt and kill innocent life just because it's inconvenient. I'm sorry, if you want to make the argument that it's medically necessary, we can have that debate, and I will completely obliterate you in that, because it's never medically necessary to abort the baby to save the mother. I'm sorry. That just does not happen. It might be medically necessary to remove the child from the mother, but it is not necessary to kill that child. I'm sorry, that is never an instance, so do not bring that up. Ever. If you want to bring it up, leave it in the comments. And Johnson has to worry about the potential that a handful of House conservatives could force him out of the job through a motion to vacate, the tactic they used to fire McCarthy when he brought a bipartisan funding bill to the House floor to avoid a government shutdown. Well, they say it like he didn't completely lie to all the Republicans and work with the Democrats on his secret deal. Yeah. Yet somehow McConnell and Johnson have to find a way to avoid a government shutdown and position the party ahead of the 2024 election to win back the White House and Senate and increase their slim House majority. Institutionally, they pretty much have to work together, said Ross K. Baker, a professor of political science at Rutgers University who has held several Senate fellowships. Paradoxically, McConnell finds it much easier to talk to Majority Leader Chuck Schumer than his Republican counterpart in the House, he added. Yeah, that just tells you where the uniparty people are. Yeah, they're in the Senate. Baker observed that while McConnell and Schumer have established a working relationship and know where each other stand, Johnson largely remains a mystery to many Republican senators. I wonder how long he'll be Speaker for, wondered Senator John Cornyn, reflecting broader uncertainty among Senate Republicans whether Johnson will have much leeway to cut deals with Democrats to pass legislation. Yeah, that's going to be a tough one. Some Republican senators, however, are hopeful that Johnson will show a pragmatic side now that he is in leadership. Senator Bill Cassidy, a fellow member of the Louisiana delegation, noted that Johnson has leadership experience as a former chairman of the House Republican Steering Committee. Asked if Johnson has what it takes to keep the government open, Cassidy replied, simple answer, yes. We don't know until it happens, but I think so. Johnson heartened some Republicans, such as McConnell, who view the war in Ukraine as a top national security priority by telling Fox News host Sean Hannity in an interview that we can't allow Putin to prevail in Ukraine. He echoed McConnell's arguments that Putin's aggressions threatens the rest of Europe and that failing to stop Russia would probably encourage and empower China to perhaps make a move on Taiwan. I don't agree with that. I don't think that what goes on in Russia affects the price of rice in China. You know what I mean by that? I don't think they're going to see that as, oh, well, Russia has successfully invaded Ukraine. Let's go after Taiwan. Those are way different. Those are two very, very different situations. And we have much closer ties to Taiwan than we do to Ukraine. I could give a fuck less about Ukraine. Honestly, the only reason I think that we got so caught up with this Ukraine bit is, for one, Joe Biden and all of his corrupt crap that goes on over there. And number two, Putin just straight up invaded Ukraine. Like, just rolled in there with tanks. Like, and we were like stunned. Like, what in the fuck are you doing? But now that it's been dragging on, people are like, what? Why are we spending so much money over here? And I would have to agree with that. Senate conservatives who work closely with members of the House Freedom Caucus on the debt limit and keeping Ukraine money off a stopgap funding measure last month predict that McConnell will have a tough time persuading Johnson to link Israel and Ukraine funding or advancing spending bills without steep cuts that would risk a government shutdown. And I hope they're right. I hope he doesn't budge a single bit on that. Senator Ted Cruz, who praised Johnson as a good man and a friend, said McConnell and Johnson obviously are of different generations. Yeah, that's right. And they're of two totally different political parties as well. McConnell's a uniparty establishment shill that basically is hanging on to power by a thread. And Johnson represents the upcoming anti-establishment that we have in this country. I believe. That's just my personal opinion. Cruz noted that he worked closely with Johnson on numerous amicus briefs at the Supreme Court defending religious liberty. I would expect the two of them to have very different approaches, he said. McConnell, 81, this year became the longest-serving party leader in Senate history. He needs to go. He's spent more than 16 years as Senate GOP leader. Johnson, 51, was just elected to the House in 2016, which is crazy, I might add. I haven't mentioned this yet, but the guy has only been in Washington for, 7 years, and he's already Speaker of the House? Kind of tells you about his work ethic and his reputation, I should say. And it also says a lot about this anti-establishment, because that's what he seems to be, very kind of anti-establishment. At least he has a head on his shoulders that he sees the writing on the wall that we need to cut back on swamp issues in Washington. And being anti-establishment is very good. Of course, it didn't get Trump very far. I mean, it got him into the presidency seat, but look at where Trump's at right now. I mean, he's got all this BS crap on his back. Oh, that's a whole nother issue that I really don't want to get into because I don't want to go too long with this thing. And I still got more. Cruz said the old Washington game of passing a bill with strong bipartisan support and trying to jam the House before the key deadline or holiday won't get Johnson to bring it to the House floor. Amen, and I hope Cruz is right. What Biden and Schumer are doing, which is holding Israel aid hostage in order to pass all of their other partisan priorities, is profoundly cynical, Cruz said. Well said. Cruz said any plan to jam the House with a $100 billion foreign aid package or other government funding package is wishful thinking, and I would have to agree because that time is over. It's time to separate all this crap. We've had enough of Washington just blowing money where we don't need to be blowing money, spending our tax dollars on crap they don't need to be spending our tax dollars on, building statues and funding gender studies in foreign countries and tree equity. It's just getting ridiculous. There's stupid funding. I mean, this new FBI building. Oh, God. I don't know if y'all heard about that. They funded the FBI building. That's another several $100 million, I'm sure, to waste. I mean, it's really time we get federal spending under control. We've been in a deficit since the 90s, since they balanced the budget back then. We've been getting bigger and bigger and bigger deficits. It's starting to hurt our pocketbooks. It's helping inflation to inflate even more. I mean, you tell me, what do you pay for gas right now? Is it better now than it was when Donald Trump was in office? How about grocery prices? Are your grocery prices better now than they were in 2019 before COVID? How about anything? If you're a Biden supporter out there, name one thing that we are better off now than we were in 2019, and I will happily tell you you're insane. But that's all I got for this one, you guys. Let me know down in the comment section what y'all think about all this. You think Johnson is going to be able to work with these uniparty Republican Democratic peoples? Do you think we're going to get anything done? Or do you think that Johnson is going to stay strong and force the Senate to bend the knee to get some of this stuff done? Let me know what you think down below. And thanks for watching, you guys. Like I said, don't forget, hit that like button. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And have a good day and be positive. Peace.